We go to Fiji now with the time at 20 to 6, where the Prime Minister who first came to power in the December 2006 coup, of course, appears to be cracking down on leading opposition figures. The leaders of the Labour Party, the National Federation Party and the Social Democratic Liberal Party, who also happens to be former Prime Minister and another coup leader, Sitiveni Rabuka, plus a leading trade unionist and academic, were all taken into custody over the weekend and held overnight in police cells. This is the South Pacific Forum was occurring in Micronesia, with the region's leaders, including John Key, all meeting together there. What's going on in Fiji? The Fijian police are asserting they were simply questioning people whose discussions about the constitution, quote, could affect the safety and security of all Fijians. But the timing, the high-profile nature of the people involved in their overnight detention suggests a heavier hand than simply that of the police. Alex Perrottet is there, and I asked him via Skype video if the government has explained its role in the weekend's events, distance itself from them, or if there's been any kind of political ownership at all.
No, there hasn't, and that's interesting. And you mentioned the forum, and it's been an amazing political week in Fiji last week because there was a cabinet reshuffle. And while the Foreign Minister Ratu Inoka was at the forum in the Federated States of Micronesia, the Prime Minister took his role of Foreign Minister, that portfolio, off his hands, and so he'll be coming back early from what was going to be a longer trip. Frank Bainimarama is sending a very clear message that he is. He's going to be undiplomatic in this approach, and he's very strong this week as well. Fiji has taken itself out of the PACER Plus negotiations, and so he's following a very, very hard line approach, very different from what the diplomatic and friendly Ratu Inoka was going to take. Even in the Parliament, in the speech by the President this morning, there was thanks to everyone who helped with Cyclone Winston, and they single out France, but there was no singling out of Australia and New Zealand. And I think we can read into that Frank Bainimarama is really sending a clear message that his friends are in the north, China and India, and really, in a sense, you could make an argument that help from Australia and New Zealand has, in a way, been taken for granted.
This is fascinating, isn't it? So the man who is representing the Fijian government at the forum is shuffled out of his portfolio. He's effectively fired while he's there. He's considered something of a threat to Bainimarama in domestic politics, isn't he? But Bainimarama is making a much, much bigger point, and that is, you don't mess with me and I'm running Fiji.
That's very, very clear. He's taken on that role, and there's a whole bunch of other ministries that he has, as well as his Attorney General, Aisaid Qayyum. We don't have the time for me to go through his portfolios. They number about 10. And with the recent reshuffle, there are a lot of junior ministers that really basically come under his guidance. So these two people are running Fiji, and basically the opposition don't have much of a voice at all. We have the president of the National Federation Party, Tupoudrani Andalo, suspended from the parliament until the rest of the term. They've only got two other members left, and they're very vocal. But of course, when they're vocal, they get rounded up and questioned by police for having a public meeting and for discussing the Constitution in a week that Fiji celebrated Constitution Day.
Yeah, this is extraordinary stuff. So what do New Zealand and Australia do about this? Obviously, they say they're keeping a watching brief, but that's not going to scare Bainimarama at all. What happens next?
Well, it is still very much a wait and see to see, is the Fiji government going to bring in these law changes? Are they going to get the laws up to speed? The leader of the National Federation Party, Biman Prasad, who was one of those arrested, I've just finished speaking to him, and he says he was really disappointed in the last 2 years because he saw this as a time to prepare for even better elections in 2018. These sorts of draconian laws need to go. They haven't gone, and not just have they not been abrogated, they've been used in times like this. And there's that cynical approach that people are reading into this, that if the political opponents do have a criminal charge, they cannot run for parliament at the next election. And here we had one meeting with Sitiveni Rabuka, Mahendra Chaudhry, Biman Prasad, the leaders of all the main political opposition parties in one place. It may have been a temptation too much to refuse. Those papers from the police interrogation are now with the Department of Public Prosecutions, and they will see whether there's enough evidence in there to lay charges. So it's certainly a wait and see over the next few days to see what happens, and will the Department of Public Prosecutions lay charges and, in a sense, wipe out any of the political opponents that the government may have in 2018.
There's an extraordinary situation. Alex Perrottet up in Fiji.